Got my Zoa. I'm ready.
It is another edition of the On the Mic podcast. And before starting the recording, had a great talk off camera. And I have to say this, and I'm not just brown nosing because he's here. I didn't even know what I was doing in combat sports. I didn't even know about combat sports, but I knew when I was a student at the Illinois Media School that there was one guy I was listening to, I was trying to be like, and the instructors there told me, follow his lead. And I tried. And it took me a couple years after to finally get into combat sports. And here we are, all these years later. Myself, Mike Pendleton, the one and only Steve Muuehlhausen. Sir, how are you?
Man, the check's in the mail, dude. I appreciate that. And you work hard. I always appreciate people that work hard. If you work hard, I'll give mine. I'll always, and this is to everybody. And I get messages daily, like people wanting to help, and I'm like, hey, I'm always willing to help if you're willing to put in the time. If I see the passion is there, you're grinding. This stuff is a grind. This isn't like working a 9 to 5. And I was just at Aldi, and they're looking for people, and I'm like, this ain't like a 9 to 5. And I literally thought in my mind, I'm like, there's no way I can ever work a 9 to 5, whether it's at Aldi, McDonald's. And no offense to Aldi and McDonald's, I love Aldi. I had McDonald's yesterday. Fantastic places, but sports is where it's at. At least for me, it's always where it's going to be at. And if you put into work, you're not going to make $30 million.
Right.
Make a sustainable living if you do the right things and you go about things the right way and you put in the work. But you're getting there, and this is a freaking battle. I always say it's like going into the jungle. Survival of the fittest. The best way I could always describe this. Just the survival of the fittest. Like Ali right there behind you. Like Rocky right there behind you.
Yep.
On the steps in Philadelphia.
Yep. I put him there for a reason. So I always have something to look back at, during this, and obviously people know where my head's at. But yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And there's so much to talk about as well. The combat sports scene is forever changing. And I wanted to start getting into with the crossover event we just had between Francis Ngannou, Anthony Joshua. And look, for my money, Francis won his first boxing fight. He didn't, but on paper he didn't, but in my eyes he did. And was this fight where Anthony Joshua absolutely smoked him? All right, so here's like a multiple layered question. Is that one of the worst knockouts you've seen in recent history, especially in the heavyweight division? And two, was this more of Anthony Joshua came to play and Tyson Fury didn't against Francis Ngannou?
It was nice to sit on my couch, drink a beer, eat pizza with my kids, and not have to worry about writing. That was the first time. God, I've been employed for 10 years. I was just laid off February the 23rd. And it was nice just to sit. I forgot what it felt like to watch a fight and just watch and observe. It's always, the brain's always churning. You're always having to watch fights. And I watched as mostly a fan. Of course, I got the journalism hat on. My mind's still going. When I'm watching that, first of all, that card was too long.
Way too long. It started like 9 a.m.
That pacing, there were a lot of pacing. I've been trying to find out, and the answer hasn't been given to me, if the pacing was due to the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, or if it was because of the broadcast partner, which is DAZN. I haven't been given a full answer. The blame's been kind of, I always lean 50-50 when it comes to those. I think it's part the promoter, the other half, I give the responsibility to the broadcast partner. But that was one of the, after almost falling asleep, getting woken by Dang and Joseph Parker, and getting to, after another 40-minute delay to the main event. You kind of knew. You kind of knew during the week. And I placed a bet on BetMGM. And I don't bet much, but I'm getting back into it. I'm doing some gambling stuff for some different for our company and making picks and doing stuff like that and posting links. And it was minus 125. And I'm like, wait, what? AJ's favorite was only, I'm thinking it's going to be like minus 600. And I'm like, he's going to run through Ngannou. And I'm not saying Tyson Fury had a bad day. Francis Ngannou just showed up. And I think Fury took him for granted. And it showed for a good majority of fight. And I thought, yeah, the scorecards, you could say what you want. Francis Ngannou, like you said, was the winner of that fight. But you knew right from the bell what was going to happen. And it was just a matter of, it wasn't an if, it was just what round. I thought maybe round 5, round 6, that was Tyson Fury thought the first round. And then that kind of got me thinking. And I'm like, all right, I'm going to watch this, pay extra attention. And you saw the knockdown in the first round. I'm like, this isn't going to last. And my youngest, he's 4 years old, but he's quite observant about boxing. He goes, Daddy, it hit me right on the head. Daddy, he's going bye-bye. And I'm like, and he was watching on and off. My oldest is sitting here laughing because he's home from school today. He thanks Dad. And I'm like, what? We got the round 2, and you saw one of the 5 greatest knockouts I have ever seen in the history. Not even just the heavyweight division, but in the history of boxing. Was Mike Tyson level-esque what I seen from Anthony Joshua. That showed took it 110% serious, but it also showed that AJ is back. He was already mostly back, but that showed he could have taken his time. He could have played around like Fury was doing and underestimating Ngannou, but he knew Francis is dangerous. You don't knock down Tyson Fury because you have no power. You don't knock out guys like he knocked out Alistair Overeem, and I sat literally. I was 10 feet away. Remember with Mike Bond from USA Today, me and him are looking at each other when Alistair Overeem basically when Francis landed that uppercut and he flew in the air, and I'm shocked he didn't fly into Canada.
Yeah.
It was just the devastation of that knockout was, and you've seen the knees were bent, how he was knocked out. Sensational. I know it was a long-winded, and I get it, and I do apologize to the fans.
Oh, good.
But like just to describe like the view and the way you look at it, and it was boom. And you knew. I was shocked he got up from the first 2 knockdowns. But as soon as he got knocked down the second time, I'm like, my 4-year-old's going to be right here. And it was a wrap.
Yeah, that it was. Now, that version of Anthony Joshua, is he the best heavyweight boxer? I know we've got Usyk.
No.
I know we've got Tyson Fury. But something that stood out to me, and I thought it was so minuscule, but props to the broadcast for saying it. But they were talking about some of the improvements that Anthony Joshua has made with Ben Davison and not throwing the target, but punching through the target. And I was like, wow, that sounds so amateur to talk about. And then when you watch the knockout, you're like, oh my God, that's exactly what he's doing. And literally what they practice is what happened, and he reaped the benefits for it. So how good was that Anthony Joshua compared to the rest of the heavyweight division?
He's the second. I know some people are like, oh, it's still Usyk and Fury, and I think it's Usyk and Joshua. Just if you're basing, I always say, nothing as good as your last performance. Taking nothing away from Tyson Fury. He's undefeated. He's the lineal heavyweight champion in the world. He's the WBC heavyweight champion. But since Deontay Wilder, he's done nothing really to still hold that number 2 position. Look at what AJ's doing, beating legit top 10 top 10 heavyweights, stopping them. He's not beating Prime, Derek Chisora's, the Dillian Whites of the world. He's going in there, and he's not struggling against a novice boxer making his professional debut. Anthony Joshua is going in there and he's wrecking people. Like he beat devastated Otto Wallen, devastated Jermaine Franklin. He fought 3 times in 2023. And then you knocked out Robert Helenius as well. Poor Robert. That was another devastating. One of the best knockouts of 2023. 4 times in 11 months. Active Anthony Joshua is the Anthony Joshua. These gaps of 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 months, sometimes a year, that does him no good. When he's active, he's the best heavyweight in the world. He still lost twice to Alexander Usyk. If Usyk beats Fury, I do want to see that trilogy. I think Turk Al-Sheikh will be like, yeah, they know that rematch clause. Not going to happen. I'm going to change course and we're going to go this way. I think Anthony Joshua fights for the undisputed title sometime in 2024. Whether it's Usyk, whether it's Fury, I think in between, I think Anthony Joshua needs to stay active. I think a fight against Filip Hrgović, I think is in June 1, I know has been discussed already. Maybe to be sometime first or second week of July, I know has also been discussed as well. I think the IBF title is going to be vacant after Fury Usyk get in the ring on May the 18th. So I think there's a path for Anthony Joshua to get either Fury or Usyk. It's just going to be a matter of taking one more fight, which I think he beats Hrgović. I am not really been that impressed by him fairly recently. So I think he takes care of business there, and he'll get the winner Fury Usyk, and then I think 2024, by the end of this year, I think Anthony Joshua will become the undisputed heavyweight champion of the world.
So we know your stance on that. We know your stance on the top heavyweights. However, is Joshua and Fury the biggest fight that can be put on? Now Usyk is, I'm not taking anything away from Usyk, but as far as like a show, a major event, what everyone's talking about, is it Joshua and Fury that the casual boxing world should want to happen this year?
100%. If you're a casual or hardcore, you're watching every fight, whether it's on DAZN, ESPN Plus, Pro Box, Amazon Prime when they start airing the PBC fights at the end of March. Wherever you can get your boxing film, Sky Sports, if you're in the UK, wherever you can watch, like the hardcore fan should be rooting for Tyson Fury. The casual fan should be rooting for Tyson Fury. That is a global fight because it's 2 monster names. It's the 2 biggest. This is not just your UK fight. 15, 20 years ago, this would be your typical, it's a big UK fight, who's the best UK heavyweight. No, that would be who is the best heavyweight in the world. You got 2 legit mainstream attractions, regardless of what people want to say. They're both legit mainstream attractions. Like, you just break down and look at the numbers, whether YouTube views, pay-per-view buys, if they fight on regular television, how many people are watching. I know DAZN really doesn't release figures. I know ESPN Plus really doesn't either. But I asked, when I worked at DAZN, I knew what the numbers were, and numbers are really good for AJ. Numbers were good for Fury and Ngannou when they fought last on DAZN. When they fought on DAZN at the end of October, they're both draws. They're both attractions. I'm not gonna say the word icon. In the UK, they're icons just because of what they've done. And the UK really, they live, eat, breathe boxing. It's the biggest fight to make in the sport. Nothing against Canelo. Canelo's the biggest name here. Tank Davis is a big name here. If you're talking global boxing, the biggest fight to make is Tyson Fury and Anthony Joshua. 100%.
Well, for my money, that's the fight I want. So not to put any bias anyways, and I don't have to tell you this, you've known me for quite some time. I'm a showman. I like theatrics. I like the big, first of all, I love the talkers, which is why I got into combat sports, thanks Conor McGregor. But I like the shows. I like the master events. I like prize fighting. And not to say Usyk isn't a prize fighter. He's a world champion. He's one of the, if not the best heavyweight boxer on the planet. But Joshua Fury, you can give me that all day long. Now, I've got quite a few things I want to get to with you, so I'm going to try to make this quick because I don't want to take up too much
You're
of your
good.
time.
You're
But
good. You're good.
when we talk crossover, Steve, I'm so sick to my stomach because 4 years ago, I wrote an article saying these two brothers have no place in combat sports. Now, at 32 years old, I'm waking up at 3 o'clock in the morning local time to watch a WWE event as my missus is passed out next to me because I want to see Logan Paul in the Elimination Chamber. I want to see Logan Paul do anything in the world of wrestling, which I'm going to ask you about later. But Jake Paul came in, took care of business on the MMA side. Then he went about, and I love how it was presented in the public eye. Jake Paul's got a great team around him. Shout out to my guy Mark Raimondi, who wrote out the next journey in Jake Paul's career, and he said he was going to fight the real boxers. We all wanted him to fight real boxers, and so what did he do? He fought, I think, two boxers. They have a pro record and more boxing fights than his previous opponents combined in the MMA world. And he ran through them, and we'll never hear of them again. And so we're like, all right, maybe now he did that, and we're still taking him as a joke. My long-winded question to you, Steve, is what the hell are we doing putting in a very old Mike Tyson against Jake Paul?
I don't know. I don't really like. I wish I had this grand explanation. I really don't. I've been on this, and I remember that piece, by the way. And I
got killed for it.
And I've been on this journey. It's not a journey I'm really. I'm not saying not really proud of it because I'm like you. I'm about the circus. I'm about the chaos. I am about the ruckus. This is combat sports. This isn't This isn't croquet. This isn't. God, what's the crochet, equestrian, fancy horse racing? Yeah, equestrian. This isn't nothing. This isn't cricket. This isn't baseball. The NBA. This is combat sports where anything, and I mean anything, can happen. And I've been on this Jake Paul journey since fight one. Aired on DAZN. I remember being in Miami. Boy, was that we faced Anson Gibb. Was that a circuit? I remember we were doing an interview with Jake, and there was a fight on the roof during the interview. It's great. Then I remember being in LA for KSI Logan Paul, and I'm like, I remember going to Eddie Hearn, and I'm like, me and Eddie Hearn have had this conversation. We had this chat in all places, Fresno, California, over some tequila. And he's like, mate, I remember when we were in LA for KSI and Logan Paul. He's like, what a crap show that was. And I'm like, you know what? But he's like, you know what? But I loved it. And I'm like, you know what? I agree. And then being in Cleveland for Jake and Tyron Woodley won. I took that assignment. And I'm like, I made a 6-hour drive to Cleveland. Cleveland. One of the armpits of this country. Cleveland, Ohio. And yes, I will be there week of August for SummerSlam. Through that. That was a circus. There was almost a fight on the stage with Logan Paul and some other people trying to get on stage and beat him up. And then I was in Tampa for the second fight with them. Jake Paul coming out of the ring and doing cannonballs into a nearby swimming pool. And seeing all these teeny boppers walking around Tampa, smoking marijuana. I was a part of the zone for the Andre August. And Been a part of the Logan Paul, the Logan Paul, Dylan Dennis ruckus. Being in the UK for that one.
That was fun.
That was
fun.
out of body. That was an out of body experience.
I would have, if I was in your position, not to cut you off, I would have given up all assignments just to go to that event over every.
It was fun.
Just
it was fun. There were people at the zone like freaked out, and I'm like, have fun.
John Fury.
The views were great. YouTube views were great. Social media views are great. The Zone News articles were through the roof. Subscriptions through the roof. Everyone made money. That's like, to me, I look at the bottom line. When I got an email, actually, I got a text message. Hey, you're getting an email shortly about Jake Paul. I'm like, okay. I'm like, whatever. It was from someone from Paul's camp. And I'm like, all right. Thinking, okay, it's an interview. I'm like, they knew I wasn't with them. I'm like, all right. I'm thinking, okay, we're going to talk to Jake today. I had to turn that down, actually. It's a news release. He's fighting Mike Tyson on Netflix. I was very confused. I don't get it. He's 30 years. Mike Tyson's going to be 58 years old by the time that fight happened. I said 58, not 48. 38. 58. My mother-in-law is going to be 70 near the end of September. My mother is 65, recently turned 65. My father-in-law does not even look remotely close to being about to be 75. My father-in-law can pass for 60. He's 58. Mike Tyson, say he doesn't look 58. Dang it, he's going to be 58 years old by the time he steps in the ring on July the 20th at AT&T Stadium in Arlington, Texas. This should not be happening. Understand why they're doing it. Because Netflix is putting up a crap ton of money. Netflix thinks they're going to make a ton of money. This should not be happening. I agree with Eddie Hearn 150%. It's happening in Texas for a reason. Because Texas is very likely to license this fight as a professional fight. That is what MVP is pushing for. That is what the team, that's from my understanding, that has been confirmed by I've asked Texas, I've asked their commission. If I have not gotten a comment, but I've asked. There'll be no headgear. Understanding this is going to be 8 rounds. I'm trying to find out the minutes. I don't even remember. I have the fight, Mike and Roy Jones, on my computer. I actually have to look at what it was. I don't remember if it was. I know it was 8 rounds, but I don't remember if it was 2-minute rounds or 3-minute rounds. I want to say 2, but I could be very wrong. But I do have to look. I don't even. This is like one step too far for me. And like we said, we love the chaos, we love the ruckus, we love the damn circus. Thankfully, I will be on vacation when this fight happens. I will be in Jamaica soaking up the sun.
Lucky you. If
oh
only
my god, it's a much needed vacation.
That it is.
This is just, but it's bad. There's no. I don't even care if this is deemed ends up being an exhibition. This should not be happening. This is a little too far, even for my taste.
And I agree wholeheartedly. But I will ask this because, like you said, you know the famous quote. You mentioned all those other sports. It boils down to simply this: you can't play fighting. I can go outside today and play basketball, play football, or play baseball. I can play all those things. I can't play fighting. There are
Nope.
severe consequences. Now, with that being said, given the age difference, there is still something that only one person in this world possesses, and that is the mindset of Mike Tyson. There is no other human like him. And we can see all the footage in the world. Is there any sort? We know the dangers and threats that are posed to a 58-year-old getting in the ring with somebody as young as Jake Paul. But is there any threat that if physically he can do it for 45 seconds, that old Mike can come back in this fight and not saying knock out Jake Paul, but hurt Jake Paul?
100%.
That's dangerous.
He can. I've said this to a couple people in boxing. They laugh. Mike doesn't have to fight every second. All he needs is to fight in 30-second bursts. 40, like you said, 30 to 45 seconds. Look at when he fought Roy Jones. Mike could have knocked him out. Look it easy on Roy. Look in the eye. If you really, truly, and then people are like, oh, that was 3 years. Fair. But if you look in the eyes of Mike Tyson wanted to rip his head off. Look at the way Mike almost knocked him out from body shots. Sent him down. Mike took it easy. You could see Mike lighting up at him. Mike wasn't putting 150% into everything. In this instance, if it is deemed a professional fight, even if it's deemed just an exhibition, I think Mike wants to prove a point here. Mike's going to be respected. Of course. Also getting, I haven't gotten an exact figure, but I've been told he's getting around $40 million. And Jake is getting a good bag too. And I haven't been able to nail down what, but if I had to estimate what Jake Paul's going to make here, he's not making more than Mike. The draw here is Mike Tyson. 2024. And this is where I will give Jake Paul 1 ounce of credit. He's smart enough to read the room. His team is smart enough to read the room. They know when the fans are getting like, yeah, okay, yeah, you beat some of these boxers. But let's remember, Andre August was delivering pizza. If we're being honest, yeah, the records look great. August and God, what was it, Ryan Borland?
Yeah. Working at a steel mill in North Dakota.
Yes. This isn't someone who, not in no disrespect, I respect everyone that gets into the ring or the cage because you're putting your life on the line. But they're not doing it living the 24 hours a day, 7 days a week lifestyle of a professional boxer. Let's just be frank about it. They're not. Let's see Jake Paul against a top 30 cruiserweight. That's where my gauge would be at that point. It's easy to knock these guys out in the first or second round when they're not applying themselves 24 hours a day, 7 days a week to the craft, to this sport. Let's see, and then he's not facing MMA guys. He's not, or basketball players or fellow celebrities like a Tommy Fury.
Who outclassed?
I think there were parts of the fight Tommy did, but he won. I rewatched that fight a few times. It's combat sports. We could all agree to disagree, but we're all fans, and we watch.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure.
I think as long as Mike is diligent and he's smart about what this training camp, which I think he's going to be. Mike's a smart guy. He hangs around with a lot of smart people even at this stage of the game. I wouldn't be shocked if Jake Paul got put on his butt. I really wouldn't be shocked, though.
And that's worth the price of admission if you're Mike. With that said, I think this will be, and you can correct me if I'm wrong here, I do think this will be the one time we don't see the sideshow from, Jake. There's not going to be a lot of shit talking from Jake towards Mike. I think there will be a lot of respect here. But I go back to Mike and that Roy Jones fight, and then I go back to Joe Rogan and everything he said. He said, when I had Mike on the first time, he was calm. He wasn't pursuing any fights. Everything was good. And then he came in before the Roy Jones fight, and I had to make the table bigger because his table, he got a bigger table because he was worried, because he saw something in Mike's eyes and in his voice and in the way he carried himself. Like, this dude could just go back to the old Mike Tyson at any moment. And I do think that is something to be wary of for those watching and Jake inside the ring. But there's another big part of this, and that's Netflix. And some people have said it's been far too long. They're late to the party, but this is what way to introduce yourself to the combat sports world and entertainment world by securing the WWE in 2025 or Monday Night Raw at least. And then starting off hey, before we get to that, we're going to go and put on Mike Tyson and Jake Paul. I name everyone your 16-year-old will watch, your 40-year-old dad will watch, your grandfather will watch, and everyone in between will get together to watch this fight. And by the way, how Netflix works now, y'all got to get your own subscriptions. So obviously the money could be made there, but how big and significant is this for Netflix to get into combat sports? And do you think we'll see them add as the years go on?
This is why, to me, the event is so big. Yeah, would it be a big deal if the fight was on DAZN, ESPN Plus, Amazon Prime pay-per-view? Sure. Three big platforms. DAZN's got over 20 million subscribers worldwide. ESPN Plus has got around 25 million plus. Amazon, I haven't been able to get a really good gauge on what Amazon's got. I think the last estimate I heard was over 100 million. How many people have Amazon Prime Video? Which is a very healthy number, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But Netflix has over 263 million. It's just a whole different level that we haven't seen in combat sports. So I don't know how well Netflix is. I mean, like what this pay-per-view on March 30th from PBC. It's not a big card. Yeah, you got Tim Tszyu, Keith Thurman, and you don't get Amazon Prime in Australia because Tim Tszyu has his own separate deal with an Australian. I think it's like the Fox Sports out of Australia. He's getting like a cut of that, and the fight card just isn't big enough. And I think you'll get a better gauge with Amazon Prime May 4th when they do the joint event with DAZN for Canelo Alvarez and Jaime Munguia. You know what DAZN is doing. DAZN's going to get, I know for Canelo fights, around 600,000 to 700,000 people are buying on pay-per-view. I know when they co-distributed the pay-per-view with Showtime for Tank Davis and Ryan Garcia, Showtime had about 800,000. DAZN had a little bit over 400,000 buys worldwide. You get that number to over 1.2 million, which was a tremendous success for all parties involved. ESPN Plus, with what they've done with the UFC, baselines usually for lower level pay-per-views, at least 250,000. For the pay-per-view we just saw last week, UFC 299 with Sean O'Malley, for early estimates of around 500,000. That's fantastic. The bigger pay-per-views with like Israel Adesanya, John Jones, you're talking 700,000 to 800,000 buys on pay-per-view. And Who knows what happens if we do see Conor McGregor and Michael Chandler at the end of June. But now you're talking Netflix. It's a whole different ballgame because it's Netflix. 206, the name alone. And they've dabbled their toe and they've done some stuff with live sports with F1. They did the big Rafael Nadal tennis match fairly recently that went very well. This is a whole new ballgame. This is definitely Netflix dipping the toe in, trying to see if this can work. And I think this is a good test for them when the WWE deal starts at the beginning of January. But I think the UFC is going to be watching this. I think the PFL should be watching this. I think other boxing outlets, the Matchrooms, the Golden Boys, the PBCs need to be. You can even say the Queensberries. They should be watching and seeing how this event's going to go, because this is a big litmus test for combat sports on July 20th. If this event goes off without a hitch, no buffering, streaming issues, people are able to get in right away. So I know they had an issue with like a live programming they did of, oh my God, what was it? It was within the last like couple months, and it was like a comedy special, and there was a significant delay. So if they get all their, because they're co-producing this event with MVP, so this is, and DAZN was and this is the thing that really I'm so shocked they're not partnering with DAZN on this, along with Netflix. Because DAZN was helping do the production for MVP's show. And I think a lot of people don't know that. So this is like a sink or swim moment for MVP, and I think this is a big moment for Netflix. Am I going to say they're going to jump in and distribute 12 events, one a month? No, but I can see UFC talking. I know them and UFC have been. They've had some cordial conversations, just trying to get to know each other. And would they be able to distribute weekly events and pay-per-views like ESPN is doing currently? I'm like very intrigued by this event, because this is going to be the most viewed event in the history of combat sport. Period. This is going to shatter all the records. July 20th is a very monumental moment for combat sport. I'm not going to say a sink or swim moment for Netflix, but this is a sink or swim moment for Jake Paul. Because if this event goes off without a hitch, that's a testament to Jake Paul's team. And it's also a good litmus test for Netflix to show, hey, we can handle, I'll give a soft, conservative estimate of 15 million people. So I think at least that many are going to watch this fight live. Easily. I'd be shocked if it was under 15 million. If it goes off without a hitch, the gloves are off and Netflix becomes they already are now. They're already in as a major player, the player, combat sports as far as I'm concerned. Right now, today, and this is going to be their first event. Then WWE in January, but massive moment in combat sports, because the eyeballs are going to be there, and that's what combat sports deserves.
I can't wait for it. And like you said, I think it's a monumental day for everyone involved. I'm surprised I've been able to hold a conversation with the boxing guy. I know you cover MMA as well, but I've always known you as the boxing guy, and we have not talked any MMA. But here's where I'm going to, and then I have this one and a WWE question for you. But one thing that really, and look, I don't have to tell you, but covering MMA, we've seen some of the ugliest things in prize fighting. We've had Colby Covington's remarks about you name it, Khabib and Conor, you name it. John Jones just following his career, and it's no disrespect. It's just what we've seen in public forum, in press conferences and trash talk and all of this. Steve, I've never been more concerned about any one person than I am Ryan Garcia right now, and his leading up to his fight with Devin Haney. I don't know. Some are saying he's just going above and beyond to sell a fight. And I'm saying if this continues, there shouldn't be a fight. Can you make sense of what's going on with Ryan Garcia? And have you ever seen something this bizarre leading into a fight?
Back in the Mike Tyson days, yeah.
Yeah,
When
I guess
when
maybe.
you look at like I started watching boxing and God, it was first fight was oh God, it was Tyson and Holmes, Tyson and Spinks, one of those two fights. And as Tyson threw that whole, I've lived the. I'm old enough to remember in this set. I remember the Tyson on top that whole entire run, and this tops that, you know. And I know Ryan, like me and Ryan are, and I don't hold many relationships in this space with athletes because there's a fine line. But I've spent a lot of time with Ryan just because of being with the Zone when I was with the Zone, and I did a lot of projects with Ryan. Like I would go to Cal, like I spent a lot of time with him in Texas before he returned. Um, it was in 2022. We spent a lot of in 2022. I got very well acquainted with Ryan Garcia and his team, and he comes from a great family. People that are genuinely looking out for his best interest. You know, I met his now ex-wife. Very, very nice woman. Beautiful daughter. Oh my God. Daughter's absolutely beautiful. Oh my God. Like I've spent a significant amount of time with that family. And we've done a lot of interviews together, just like how we're doing this right now. We had a lot of time on Zoom, and he'd stay. He don't stay on for no one. He'd always stay on for me. We would just chat. Just times we'll text and be like, "Hey, you good?" And I haven't even talked to him through this whole. He knew I got laid off. He sent me a nice cordial message saying, "Hey, I heard what happened. I really feel bad. We'll definitely still talk in the future. Like before this fight, we'll definitely. You're one of the guys I'm already going to talk to." And I'm like, "All right, great." I'm like, Thank you so much." He's very loyal. He's a very, 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 very loyal guy. Not just because of me, because what I've seen with him and his team, and just his whole family dynamic. They're genuinely concerned about him talking to people in his family around him. They're very genuinely worried about him. This initially did to them was trolling. Like it was, but something's gone off in his head, and I don't know exactly why. I wish I knew why, because this really isn't. When you're talking about mental health, it's got nothing to do with the fight game. It doesn't. The reporter hat comes. Yeah, I'm still a reporter, but we're all human beings at the end of the day. We all put our pants on one leg at a time. And we should be, because this is bigger than a fight. It's just a fight. Who cares? He's rich. He doesn't go and blow his money. He's very, very good with his money. I want to make that abundantly clear to everybody. This isn't a kid that goes out and buys like 50 cards, and he's not Floyd Mayweather. He's not even like Tank Davis. He's he's a very conservative guy who does put in the work, and people don't realize that. This kid genuinely I know he gets flack about his work ethic. I've seen this kid work. He puts in the goddamn work. And I hate when that misnomer is made about him. Because it's genuinely wrong because people just don't know and they don't care. I think this falls on Golden Boy. I think it falls on Oscar De La Hoya. This falls on Bernard Hopkins. It also falls on DAZN. They're the broadcast partner. They have a big investment in Ryan Garcia. They have a big investment in Golden Boy. This is a big fight. This is, to me, in my mind, this is the biggest fight so far in 2024 that we're gonna see. Before you look at the lineup coming up in boxing is going to be fantastic. And it starts with this fight. But he is not. Yeah, I've seen tape. I've heard he's looking good in the gym. Talked to some people at Derek James' gym. They're saying he's looking great. He's And I'm like, are you sure? Are you just feeding me? They're like, no, he's coming in here and he's listening to Derek. He's following the directions. He's doing what he's told. He's looking sharp. He's looking great. Derek's worried about him. They've talked about what's going on. Derek James feels good enough to where Ryan will be fine come April the 20th. But if I'm the zone, if I am Golden Boy, if I am if I am his family, his advisor, Lupe Valencia, I would pull him. I'd get him some help. Fighting is fighting. Fighting will be there. He's only 25 years old. This kid is already a superstar. One of the biggest names in combat sports. He's one of the biggest athletes. One of the most well-known athletes in the world. He will be just in that aspect. If he ever did come back to fighting, he'd be fine. Kelly, people want to see him fight because he is a big attraction and he is a very good fighter. But he needs to get help. He needs to get help immediately. I'm not saying he's going to go out and kill himself, but there's too many signs of where where he needs help. He needs it bad. And I hope he gets it sooner rather than later.
I agree. And I think I have nothing to add because I think you hit everything on the head there. It's like I said, it's bizarre. And in this social media world era that we're currently in, where everything's about views, clicks, and likes, this is something where I don't even like, the resharing of all this stuff, because when someone is in that state of mind, and I don't truly know Ryan Garcia's state of mind, but when someone is in that state of mind, if you continue to share it, more people are going to ask him about it, more people are going to say things about it, and it's going to lead to more and more and more. Like you said, rather they just need to get help or get him some help. And as we get ready to wrap this up, I'm moved to something that I don't pay attention to anymore. Every so often I do, but with seemingly an epic event just about a month away here in April that you'll be going to, when you bring in a guy who I followed my entire childhood and you put together what I believe is one of the best storylines we've seen in a very long time, talking about The Rock, WWE, Roman Reigns, and the Bloodline. First, I'm going to start with this. I can't believe I'm asking you about wrestling, but I'm going to ask you this. Is this one of the best storylines we've seen out of the WWE in, I'll say, the last 20 years?
100%. Because it's...
Give me a second. Hey, knock it off.
You're good. At 100%. Because this story, the way they've told this story, did it get off to the greatest start in the universe? No. They weren't expecting the backlash of Cody not facing Roman Reigns at WrestleMania coming up on April the 7th out in Philadelphia. Yeah, they were happy to see The Rock, because of course it's The Rock. But they want to see if he can finish the story. And the backlash of something being taken away was bigger than what they thought, bigger than what I thought. I really didn't think nothing of it when it happened. But talking to people there, and they were like, we weren't expecting this. We had to pivot. And I'm like, I get it. And how they've rebounded, the way they've taken us on the journey to the destination in a few weeks, extremely well done. It helped that there's no Vince McMahon. Paul Levesque, Brian Gewirtz, the Rock's writer, who's now back on the creative team for a little bit here. Everyone that's been involved with this story has told it very well, because there's so many different ways this can go, and it likely will go. We still got some time. There's 3 weeks and change till we get to Philadelphia. So the way this has been done, all parties, Paul Levesque, the creative team, The Rock, Roman Reigns, Cody Rhodes, Paul Heyman, Seth Rollins. Everyone deserves their flowers here because you don't know what's going to happen. And that is the best thing about wrestling when you don't see something coming because it's all about why do I want to watch? It's like fighting. Why do I want to see a fight? Why do I want to see fighter A get in there with fighter B? Why do I want to see them clash? That's what they're doing here. And it's been nothing but aces so far. And I can't wait to be in the house and see what the end. I'm not even going to say it's the end result because I think this storyline has a lot of layers and can still go. But we're going to get to one of the destinations coming up here in a couple weeks out in Philadelphia. And I'm excited to see when all these forces are inside the ring and see which route the WWE is going to go. Because that's when wrestling's the best, when we don't know and there's plenty of different scenarios to where you can go.
Just the simple fact of the storyline pushing me back to being, because there's PFL that week and I'm thinking of going to San Antonio. I'm like, I got to be back by Friday because Saturday, Sunday, I'm booked, you know? So without knowing the destination on April 7th and without knowing the final destination, not even a prediction, but your just best guess. Do we see The Rock make a turn? Do we see him go after Roman? Do we see this become, at the end of WrestleMania this year, do we get to at least a point where we go, all right, everyone else is out of the way. It is Rock. It is Roman. We don't know when. We don't know where. But do we have something that makes us go, holy shit, we have to watch?
I want to say, yeah.
That's why I'm watching.
I want to say one. I can't give you, and I know this is going to disappoint everyone because I'm usually I can say definitively yes. This is an instance where I don't know. One would assume, but I'm being the assuming business because I don't truly know. One would think. I think night one. I think The Rock should pin Cody Rhodes to set up night two to where it's bloodline rules, and then maybe we get a faux pas with The Rock and he accidentally costs Roman the match. Because I can't see they could. I believe they could because they did it last year. I could see a way where Roman Reigns retains, but then you gave that caveat last week of when The Rock's like, if you don't win at WrestleMania, you're never getting another crack at the WWE Undisputed Universal Heavyweight Championship. Man, that's hard to say, by the way. Man, they really convoluted that. Good Lord. So based on that, you think, yeah, this could happen. Cody's got to walk out. But how does it happen? Could have The Rock cost him, whether it's by accident, whether it's intentional. But I do feel, and I feel confident in saying this, I feel we'll get some sort of tease. The match is going to happen. It doesn't matter. It's not an if, it's a when. The Rock, the one-on-one match is going to happen between them. It's just a matter of when. It's not an if, it's a when. They weren't expecting this, but the Rock's all in on this. That match will happen. Rock and Roman Reigns is definitely going to happen either sometime in 2024 or it's going to happen at next year's WrestleMania, which I think is a big risk, and that's for another conversation. But talking about the present, I think we get somewhat of a clearer picture. I think we see some more tea leaves. At the very worst, we get tea leaves. Could I see a turn? Sure. Could I see him helping Roman win and retain the title? Sure. Turning into, you couldn't do it alone. I beat him by myself. I beat him in the tag match. I didn't need help. But I can also see gets pinned on night one. Roman blames The Rock for it not being bloodline rules and it just being straight one-on-one, and he loses the title. And blames The Rock for that. I can see there's a couple different ways they can go here. And I wish we were here already. I wish it was the first weekend in April. I wish, as much as, and my son's going to get mad when I probably say this, but I wish right now I was in Philadelphia. Yeah, and they gave me the what? Just to get ready. Nah, you want to be. But just because I want to see the match. I want to see what they're going to do. I want to see these matches and get there already. But I'm invested tonight. SmackDown. We're recording this on Friday. SmackDown's in like 7.5 hours. I'm excited to see Rock in Memphis. Maybe we get a Rock concert tonight. That'd be tremendous. No, SmackDown, we're taping this on Thursday. I take that back. Tomorrow. 2 hours from now. You can see it. Thank you. So I'm all in for the destination. I'm excited at the journey that we're on. I just can't. There's a couple different ways they can go. But at the very worst, Mike, we get some tea leaves. We'll get a clearer picture of where this story is going to go on night one and on night two on WrestleMania.
Last one for you. How big is that match, Roman Reigns and The Rock? We have so many iconic matches. A lot of them include The Rock. How big in the historic legacy of WWE, how big is The Rock and Roman Reigns?
To me, it's their last mega dream match for WWE. If you really think about it, they've built no one up to where you can see where the future could be. Maybe Braun Breaker, but he's very, 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 very early into his main roster journey. So you don't really have a good gauge on that yet. But if you're looking present today, there's no one that's even that close to the level of even Seth Rollins. And that's not a knock on Seth Rollins, but the only other match somewhat close would be CM Punk and Roman Reigns. I know a lot of people want to see it just because of the story with Paul Heyman. I think, but on the level of The Rock and Roman Reigns, CM Punk and Roman Reigns, I think there's still a lot of significant interest. But you only have two really mainstream marquee, this could headline WrestleMania mega dream matches that you'd want to see. It's The Rock and Roman Reigns. It's CM Punk, Roman Reigns is 2. Number 1 is The Rock and Roman Reigns.
Excited for it. And thankful that you gave me so much time. I really do appreciate it. It took a lot more of your time than I was expecting, but I do appreciate it. So tell everyone where they can find you.
I'm on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at the same thing. S Muuehlhausen Jr. That's SMUEHLHAUSEN JR. I have some stuff in the pipeline for coming up here. I'm not gonna reveal anything. Sorry to everybody. Sorry to burst that bubble, but it's a lot of things going on. A lot of behind the scenes stuff that is going on. I will be at WrestleMania. I'll leak that right now. But for who, you'll find out in a couple weeks. So I'm very excited for that. Excited to get back into the MMA and boxing bubble. Some stuff cooking on that as well. You can go to my YouTube channel, The Walkway to Fight Club. Got a lot of good stuff coming up. That's some interviews I'm going to be putting up that I did right before I left the zone. And so I'll have some stuff up there. Putting up old interviews is something I'm going to be doing some archive stuff. I'll be up on the channel as well. You can find the podcast, Walkway to Fight Club, on Apple, Spotify, Google Play, all your favorite podcasting platforms. And thank you for having me on. This has been a lot of fun. Not taking up too much of my time. And you're doing great stuff. I don't do a lot of these. I get a lot of offers. I'm not a fan of doing a lot of these. Just because of I have children, and a lot of them to me aren't really worth my time of going on. You are always worth my time. When you need me, I am here. So thank you so much. And it's a beautiful time to be a boxing and pro wrestling fan.
Beautifully said. I appreciate everything. Thank you so much. We'll be in touch.
Yes, sir. Thank you.